Hi, this is Joelle. I am the Viberarian. I am here to elevate, enlighten, and empower. I'm undertaking that process for myself, and I come here in this space to share in the hopes that you too will be enlightened, elevated, and empowered. So I just popped on today to give a brief kind of a scenario story or sharing of what my recent week has been like in the hopes that I do an effective job explaining how spirit communication and how guidance in our life can sometimes work. So bear with me because it's probably a winding road to get to the arc, and I'm going to be putting some pauses in so that I can add graphics or images from my experience along with the telling. So that's a kind of a new technology skill for me as well. So please be patient. And again, so I'm just sharing. So I often speak with my guides and receive messages through my oracle cards. As you all know, I have an extensive collection, and I always try to, and in addition to like meditation and praying and conversation with spirit, I do readings sometimes many times during the day for myself, in addition to the client work that I do. So about a week or so ago, I mean, everything kind of moves from one moment to the next. So there's time is an interesting thing to talk about. But it was probably about a week ago that I started getting these incoming messages about high heart and heart healing. And of course, the lunar eclipse recently passed. We were in this eclipse cycle, and the lunar eclipse is about revealing things deep within inside us of an emotional context. And of course, solar eclipses are about sudden external revelations in our environment outside. But so I knew the lunar eclipse energies were here, and I always try to kind of stay in tune to the astrology that's happening because oftentimes it gives an explanation for things that I may be experiencing that seem irrational. And when I check in with the planetary forecast, it's like, oh, okay, no wonder. So when the healing of the heart started coming in, I started asking, okay, where is it that I am unhealed? Because I couldn't easily think of something. So, rather than stress, like, oh, where's the issue? Where's the issue? I just said, a simple ask was, okay, you're bringing this to my attention. Help me to see where this heart healing needs to occur. And so subsequent messages came up about armoring your heart. You've built a wall around yourself, protecting an area. And so again, this was challenging me because as I viewed myself, I didn't feel like I was overly protective in any area. So one day last week, as I was exiting out, there was a ladybug on my door. And it's starting to get rather chilly here, so in Atlanta. So I wasn't necessarily expecting to see a ladybug, but for me personally, ladybugs are always an indication that Archangel Raphael is close to me. It's just one of the personal syncs and symbols that I have developed in my language with my guides that lets me know about presence and who I'm interacting with. And so his signal to me is always a ladybug. And so it was sitting right on my door, and I thought, okay, Archangel Raphael, I see you. So last week, I think when I was doing the angel readings that I posted on my channel, I was using Rana Vazane's deck about the angelic messages and guidance from the higher realms. And one of the cards that came up was Archangel Raphael. So of course I was not surprised because everything will tend to begin to be amplified over time. So I knew Archangel Raphael was coming in, and this is the energy. And this particular card for Archangel Raphael says, if you stay centered and in control of your thought processes, you will always be informed as to what you should be doing or where you should be. You will always be in the right place at the right time. Okay, so, I'm thinking, all right, don't let my mind run off the rails with me, worrying about something that spirit has brought to my attention. So, the days go forward, and of course, there's many more syncs, but overall, the messages about healing and heart armor and the heart being activated to something continue to come through. I'm going to share at this point a couple of the oracle cards that I received in my other readings on apps and various things that show you about the heart activation and healing opportunity that was coming at this moment. Okay, so you can see there's this continuing message, right? So on Saturday, I had opportunity to go to an event with a sister friend that I know here in Atlanta. Her name is Alka. And matter of fact, I believe that is just her messaging me. So Alka Kapoor, and she is also known on Instagram as the Shaman in the City. And Alka is a beautiful spirit. She's so kind. And she is like a crystal wise master. And so I was very interested in coming because she was having a crystal holiday mixer. How fun is that? I love when, you're in this arena, you get to do things like go privately experience a crystal garden and to be in the energy of crystals, and also to have a private shopping opportunity with her beautiful curated crystal selection. So I always take my oracle cards to places, of course, and so I brought all my crystal related decks with me to share with anybody who wanted to do a reading for themselves while we were there that over the period of a couple hours. So we're sitting there, and her deck that she had was a deck that I did not have. It has these beautiful round cards, and so just here to share with you what the cards that I drew. Of course, I had to get into the oracle cards pretty quickly as I got there because I love them. But as I opened the cards and took them out, there was a message that the shaman, the shamanic drum and medicine healing was coming through. And then also a card about healing, which had these beautiful hands. So again, inserting space for those images to be shared right here. So shamans go into do what's known as soul retrieval. And those are times when we have splintered off an aspect of ourselves due to pain or trauma, not just through this lifetime, but in other lifetimes. And so the shaman is able to facilitate that journey into those realms, the shadow realms, the under realms, and to help us find and then reintegrate after healing those pieces of ourself and folding them back in. So, I was getting messages about inner child, heart healing. And so here I am at this shaman in the city's house on Saturday, surrounded by these beautiful, beautiful crystals. And the first thing after I get those oracle cards, I'm thinking, okay, here comes the medicine that I need for the healing that's happening. And Alka comes by, and we had been talking about rhodochrosite, the stone rhodochrosite. And so she comes and she drops a beautiful rhodochrosite in my hand to share it with me. And immediately this feeling washed over me that was just so beautiful and just wonderfully soft and loving. And I've been wanting to get rhodochrosite for quite a while. I've had previous conversations on my channel sharing about the crystal wisdom of rhodochrosite, and I'll link to those in the description box below so that you can also go back and reference it. But it was such a soft energy, and it was a beautiful crystal. And so I thought, okay, I got to play time with rhodochrosite, and then Alka walks up and drops a malachite in my hand. So I know that malachite is a healing stone. Excuse me, pardon me. It is a healer stone, and from what my understanding of what malachite is, that it is can be rather harsh in that it can, if healing requires you to cut something out, that can be kind of a traumatic experience for us. And so the guidance that I had been taught was to always couple malachite with a softer stone to do the healing, like an amethyst, in order to buffer what could be some of the intensity. Alka then clarified that and said that basically the malachite resonates at the intensity of the wound. So if it feels harsh, it is due to it gathering that energy from within you and then pulling it out, transmuting it, working with it. So it's a mirror reflection in terms of your stone encounter. So I thought, well, that's very interesting. So again, I'm walking around with this malachite for a couple hours, well, like 30 minutes at least. I wandered around and looked at her crystals and all of that, but I still was holding on to this malachite. So I guess malachite was charging me up, right? So um, the evening ended and I left, and I'm going to share at the end just kind of a view of some of the crystals that we are around. I'll have a little clip integrated into this one so that you could also see the beautiful materials that we're around. But I knew that something was going to come because I continue to get this prompt of healing. So that was on Saturday, and I think then on Monday evening, I was taking the advice of a dear sister friend, Dr. Tracy Johnson. She's the practitioner of the heart. And so she deals with what our heart tries to communicate to us and to help facilitate that conversation. So she had just been saying, we need to watch the movie Interstellar. She's in town for a few days, so we were going to have like eat popcorn and watch movies time. And she's like, we got to watch Interstellar. So we had started watching the movie one day, and then we were getting ready to finish the movie after I had gone to the holiday party. So as I am watching then Interstellar, fully involved in the movie, I began to sob at a soul level. And I mean like ugly cry sobbing. If you've never seen Interstellar, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but let's basically say that this would be the journey of the star seeds, what it means when you go off to explore the realms of space and what it means to leave loved ones behind to go off on an adventure that may actually wind up being very dangerous and actually very final. What does it mean to serve humanity's purpose in terms of sacrificing your will and efforts to go forward? So I was really deeply very triggered, and I realized that what I was feeling was part of my heart wound that I didn't even know was there. And for me, it connected a whole stream of dots of things over the last 6 months, especially that were things that I saw about time travel, about jumping into different realities and what it means when the portal closes behind you, what it means to go be an explorer. Some of the things that I've been watching related to this are like Doctor Who, the 2005 series. I read the book The Sparrow by Maria Doria. I can't remember her last name, but again, I'll put the information about the book below. It's a classic science fiction fantasy novel that really does deal with what happens when you experience the relativity of time when you've gone off planet, and that time continues to mark differently for the realities that you're tied to, your explorer identity and your home identity. So I think the spirit was kind of getting me into a space of pulling out some deep wound. I was very, very sad. I was like just heartbroken really in my crying feeling. And it really did purge for me an emotional bubble that I had no idea was existent inside. So I think the last time that I probably cried like this was when I watched The Notebook just a couple years ago after my twin Flame had prompted me to watch the movie. He got quite a kick out of the fact that it brought me to an ugly cry moment. But again, tapping into things that we see that are like the universal stories that we all may have experienced in one lifetime or another, and uncovering those wounds related to that. So, here we have again the passage of time, and the notebook is one of the themes, and separation and unification with loved ones. So I could see where the theme was coming up, and I didn't even realize how deeply traumatizing. You would have thought that I was on the spaceship, honestly, because that's how deeply and sadly I was crying, I was crying harder than Matthew McConaughey, and it was his acting. So um, it took me like 24 hours before the wobbly feeling inside myself of being very watery and close to tears kind of resolved itself. And so I also realized then that there is a collective grief, there is a collective sorrow and trauma that is purging, I think, at this time. Last year kind of threw everyone for a loop and we were in a reactionary place. But this year, it's like the true grieving of the loss of our perceived reality is hitting people differently. So what I decided to do later this evening is I'm going to be doing a live community read and chat at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It's just in a couple hours from now. But I'm going to be looking at the energies of healing and the messages from Spirit because, again, I felt very, very tender and fragile after having had this experience. Now, so I do hope you'll come back and join me. But I also did want to share with you the cards that I received, the crystal guidance. And also what was interesting is that the card from the Isis Oracle that I had received was the Miracle of Isis, which speaks to the miraculous healing of the goddess. Okay, so the Miracle of Isis, just to give you a short snippet of it, I knew that I was going to receive assistance from the Divine Mother. And who else do we want to be embraced by but our mothers when we're feeling a moment of sorrow? And it says that, Isis was known as a talented practitioner of the healing arts and was capable of miraculous healing. For you, beloved, she offers a miracle healing. No matter how much you have struggled with a particular matter, no matter how impossible it may seem to imagine your life without this old wound, addiction, problem, relationship issue, or inner struggle being a part of it, you are guided now to accept the possibility of miraculous healing, to let go and let the goddess be. The Lady Isis wishes to lift a load that has become too heavy for you to heal on your own, beloved. She cannot take something away from you if you are not willing to release it. To her, however, release for healing means trust, letting go of attachment to outcome and how that outcome might be achieved, and opening to the divine genius of healing that seeks to express the perfection of divine love through you now. To hand something over for healing, especially when it has been a long-term or persistent difficulty or simply seems to be too great or overwhelming to be healed, takes a radical change of mind and heart. To dare to hope without becoming attached to how or when something can happen, to surrender without forgetting to follow your intuition and act accordingly, to trust even though you may have been disappointed or hurt in the past. All these things take skill and courage. Yet these are the requirements for us to surrender into the great healing of divine love. Lady Isis speaks through this oracle and says to you that recovery from trauma and emotional healing is not only possible, but if you are willing, it can happen for you now. No matter the depth of grief, loss, despair, fear, or anger, love can and will absorb all of it. This oracle is also an indication that a spiritual gift or awakening of deep healing ability to a new level is coming your way. Keep your eyes and heart open and let go of doubt or fear about opening up to a new level of proficiency. Dedicate your work to divine love and trust that it will flow through you stronger now. You are capable of great work when you trust in your own heart and the love of the divine flowing through you with total surrender. Okay, so the mother's love here to support us. Now, when I read that, I didn't know, again, I didn't know what it was that I was giving permission to be assisted with. But I had the trust in my heart to say, okay, Spirit, if you brought this to my attention, you will help facilitate this healing with as much ease and grace as possible. In this case, it included an ugly, ugly cry and sobbing and snot and, all those things. But it definitely, I'm grateful for that opportunity. So, of course, wanting to find out more about the crystals that were mentioned in the cards that I received, in the crystals that I saw and handled at Alka's was very key. And so the first, the Neumite, which was card 14, as you saw earlier, and it's strength. I am strong in mind, body, and spirit. So I know that whatever issues for healing are brought up, that I have the resilience, I have the strength and the support needed to be able to address it, right? So that was the healer card. Malachite and another medicine healing card. And as you can see, beautiful malachite energy. And it's healing. I am a healing machine manifesting miracles. We have to heal ourselves before we could pass that medicine on to others. So, and then of course, Rhodochrosite, which helps soften my experience with that energy of compassion and love. Rhodochrosite. Self-acceptance. I fully accept myself and know that I am worthy of great things in life. Okay, so guidance in order to accept the things that I uncover, to deal with them with strength and resilience while this healing is here. So this is from the Crystal Wisdom Oracle deck. And then from the Crystal Spirits Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid, the guidance for Neumite. Here's the card in her deck. It says, achieving self-mastery, inner power, recovering your sense of self. Evidence of progress can seem elusive at times, but when Neumite spirit appears, it is a sign that you might be underestimating how far you have come. Our minds are conditioned to pay attention to the negative and overlook all that is good in our lives, including the results of our efforts over time. You may not have received a big blue ribbon or parade in your honor, but the conscious universe acknowledges and celebrates all your hard work mastering your fears. Make peace with the part of yourself that tells you that whatever you do, it will never be enough. You are developing mastery, and there will be times when you feel as if your progress is slow and inadequate, but you are called now to acknowledge that you have indeed persevered, learned much, and not given up. Doing so will help you stay the course rather than veer off track. Be gentle with yourself as you master the challenges you always seem to overcome somehow. You are getting better at this thing called life, at building healthy relationships and prosperity, and at knowing and loving yourself as much as the conscious universe does. Give yourself credit and keep practicing. We are all learning, and Neumite Spirit is here to tell you that the conscious universe is watching and is so very proud of you. When it comes to relationships with others, building trust and intimacy is a process. Practice leads to results, for repetition develops skills. Just as you engage in a dance with a partner, healing, leading, and following, stay present in the moment, listening to signals and cues and being clear about what you need and desire. Yes, toes will get stepped on here and there, but it's how you and your partner deal with the inevitable missteps that allow you to develop a closeness that can stand up to even the biggest challenges. Practice, 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 and soon it will be second nature to express yourself in relationships in ways that reflect your highest aspirations for how you want to show up for others and what you want to experience. Cultivate love through practicing being loving. prosperity message for this card. Dig into the earth and you will soon realize that layers upon layers of soil and rock have built up over time. And this is a lesson for how to build a foundation in the material world to help you feel more secure. Your true prosperity will always lie in your relationship with the conscious universe, your co-creator. New Mind Spirit is here to remind you that outer conditions will soon begin to reflect your intention to start your own begin to reflect your intention to own your natural abundance. But you must practice the art of building wealth, which might feel unfamiliar and uncomfortable to you. Take time today to honor yourself for how far you have come and the discipline you have shown in methodically working to master your fears about not having enough and about not being up to the task of wealth building. Abundance within, abundance without is what the conscious universe wants for you. You are getting there incrementally each time you commit to practice and consciously repeat the actions you know are healthy and in alignment with abundance. Mastery arises from conscious repetition, so know what you need to do and do it. The conscious universe is with you. The crystal spirit meditation for Numite. Numite feels sacred, carrying the vibration of the wise elder or teacher. When we are ready, this stone will assist us in diving down into the very depths of self in order to unearth and reclaim the lost or buried parts of us. It encourages us to embrace and integrate the neglected pieces of who we are, step into our power, and once again know ourselves as the perfect beings we have always been. Okay, New Mike, I receive your guidance and presence in my life at this time with gratitude. All right, and so the other card here is Malachite. This is 34, which is 7, and 7 is always my calling card for the divine feminine goddess principle, the feminine aspect of the God source. So look at this beautiful card here. So clarity of thought and emotions, the right use of intellect, integrating thoughts and intuition. Overthinking can make you feel like you are starting to lose it. I can relate. Okay, overthinking. But Malachite Spirit has appeared to let you know that there's a difference between unproductive ruminating and taking the time to apply logic that can help you make sense of what you know. Reasoning with clarity means the right use of your intellect as you consider all the evidence you have encountered. This includes evidence produced by opening yourself to messages from the conscious universe through your first sense, intuition. Your reasoning powers are at their peak right now, so let go of any old beliefs that would make you doubt Malachite Spirit's message, which is to trust that you are smart enough to sort through all the information before you. Okay, I'm an information person in spirit and in truth. So I have the intuition and the guidance and the connection to be able to sort through all of the information that is before me and to trust my conclusions on that, right? In the realm of relationship, it says that, are you trying to justify knowing what you know? Malachite Spirit is here to tell you that you are both smart and wise. When you consider what is currently happening in your relationships, right thinking is married to your inner wisdom, which is guided and provided by the conscious universe. Trust that you have the ability to balance the incoming messages from your rational self and the part of you that just knows. Honor your emotions, but be guided by the conscious universe and your intellect to help you make decisions. For your emotions right now may be an echo of the past, out of proportion with what is happening today. Meditate and it will be easier to see the evidence and use valid reasoning and intuition to weigh it. Valid reasoning and intuition, not egoic chatter and criticism and fear. In the prosperity realm, it says Malachite Spirit has appeared to tell you something very important. that you know more than you think you know? Have you given your power away when it comes to building wealth, fearing that you can't be trusted to figure out your finances? Do you feel unworthy of abundance because you fear you will squander it? Too often, old stories rooted in scarcity thinking shape our attitudes towards prosperity. You're reminded now that you have what it takes intellectually to make sense of your financial situation and grow your wealth. The conscious universe will send signs that you are on the right track. So free yourself from the old fears and begin trusting yourself. The crystal spirit meditation. Malachite is a beautiful stone that helps integrate our personal power, hearts, and intellect simultaneously. It allows us to come from a place of authority without losing sight of what is for the highest good of all. It is a useful stone to work with when exploring issues around the next right action in families and organizations. Okay, so it's so interesting because the premise of Interstellar is that the Earth was dying, and so the crops were dying. There was no food, and at some point in the future, very near future lifetimes, there was going to be a depletion of the air. So there was a lack of motivation that spurred everyone out into this desperate exploration in order to find someplace else to colonize. And so that lack mentality, the fear of lack, the fear of running out, of not having enough, that fear of, being forced to leave all that you love in order to go do something for the highest good of other people, even when it may not be the good for you and your personal connection to the families that you love, that you might have to leave. Like all of those things about triggering our emotional connections, and then looking at how we operate in terms of our fear response. Clearly, I had a very deep, deep, still wound, like those layers of dirt that it was talking about, like the layers of my energetic experience as a soul needed to be brought to my awareness so that I can sit with that and do some healing as well. So the last card that I want to share with you is from my ice. When I got this Archangel Raphael, the same day that I got that, I actually also got the Isis card. And I think I shared that with you all because I'm like looking at a couple moon pieces of art in my office even now as I share this. But the guidance from her is, in addition to her miracle of healing that she provides, is to meditate daily and nightly. Better yet, become a living meditation so that every waking moment is focused on the highest purpose for all. Then bring your love and power together to create the meridians of light and energy so that your strength is flowing back and forth amongst you and radiating out from you, both into the heavens and down to the center of your Mother Earth. So becoming a living meditation, becoming a living embodiment of that connected source being, I absolutely want to continue to evolve in that way. And these conversations are part of that, being in the living conversation and awareness and receiving guidance and aware of the guidance that I'm receiving from the higher divine realms on a persistent basis. And so thank you for joining me for just this little tidbit, and I'll be back again shortly. Do stay tuned here at the end because there's just a real quick reel of the stones from Alka, and from there, her Etsy shop is Crystal Matchmakers. So if you have an issue that you are going through and you want some support from our Earth family, from the crystal realm, from Mother Gaia's other children, I would absolutely encourage you to reach out to her and speak with her about, message about what you're going through, because I tell you what, she dropped those crystals in my hand without even knowing at a conscious level that it was specifically for me, but she certainly knew at a spiritual level and was functioning as a shaman does, which was to help me go on a journey to find some pieces of myself that I did not even know were fragmented and wounded and needed to be reintegrated and healed. So I thank you, Alka, for your wisdom and your sharing. And I'll see all of you on tonight's live just here in a little bit. Namaste.